algebra students. Mr. Lawrence here with your flipped lesson. And we've been spending a lot of times on parabolas and graphing them. And after today's lesson, it's kind of a review lesson. It's not for a test or anything, but we're reviewing what we've been doing. You're going to be able to say, I can determine how many roots a quadratic equation has using the discriminant. And remember that the discriminant is the part of the quadratic formula that says b squared minus 4ac. You can also say I can find the vertex of parabola using the equation x equals negative b over 2a and a t-table. And then you'll also be able to say I can calculate the roots of a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula, which you remember is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so let's get down to it and do some practicing here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to determine how many solutions. So I'm going to go looking for the discriminant. So I'm going to do a is negative 1, b is 8, and c is negative 15, right? So b squared is going to be 8 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 15. All right, I'm going to get 64. And those three negatives there are going to make a negative, and 4 times 1 times 15 should be 60. So my discriminant is 4, so there's going to be two solutions. All right, so since there's two solutions, I'm going to note that the parabola will cross the x-axis twice. I'm going to go ahead and now find the vertex. So I'm going to take x equals negative b over 2a, and the negative b will be negative 8. And then I have a 2 times a negative 1. And that'll end up being 4. So in my t-table, my vertex is going to have an x-coordinate of 4. Oops. Sorry, we made a negative there by mistake. And now we're going to plug 4 into the equation. We're going to go negative 4 squared plus 8 times 4. And what is it? Minus 15, I believe. So that's how I'll get my y-coordinate. And so that's going to be 4 squared is 16 and make it negative, plus 32 minus 15. This is going to be positive 16 minus 15. It's going to equal 1. So my vertex is going to occur at 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And now I'm going to go find out what those two solutions are. So I'm going to use the full quadratic formula for this part. And so I'll go x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And notice I just put the b squared minus 4ac in as 4. That's the simplest answer. Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to get negative 8 plus or minus 2 divided by negative 2. So I'm going to get negative 8 plus 2 divided by negative 2. And negative 8 minus 2 divided by negative 2. Well, this one's going to equal 5. And this one is going to equal 3, I'll bet. So my roots are going to occur here and here. Oh, hey, this parabola is going to open downwards, isn't it? Yeah, the parabola is going to come like this. I think this is the first time we've seen a parabola do this. I knew it was going to open downward just by looking at the equation, this original equation here. Is there anything you see that's different about it that caused it to open downward? Well, let's hold on a second. Let's go on to the next problem and see if your guess is correct. All right, so take a look at that equation. Make a prediction if you think the parabola is going to open upward or if you think it's going to open downward. Okay, I'm not going to tell you, but you can see if your guess was right. Okay, first thing is to go looking for how many solutions I'm going to have. So I'm finding A, B, and C. Then I'm going to do the discriminant. Negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times 8. And so I'm going to get 4 plus 32, I believe. It's going to be 36. And so there's going to be two solutions. All right, so I have two solutions. I'm going to go ahead and find the vertex. So that's going to be x equals the negative of b. b is negative 2, the negative is positive 2 times negative 1. That'll simplify to negative 1. And in my t-table, the x-coordinate of my vertex is going to be negative 1. And I'm going to stick that in for x. Don't forget my negative out front. And minus 2 times negative 1 plus 8. So negative 1 squared is 1, but there's a negative out front. Minus 2 times negative 1 would be plus 2 plus 8. Looks like that'll be 1 plus 8 will be 9. So negative 1, 9. So that's going to be right here. Now we know there's going to be two solutions, and the vertex is above the x-axis, so I think it's safe to say that this one's going to open downward. But let's go find our solutions. And I'll use the quadratic formula. So do x equals negative of b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so we're going to get 2 plus or minus 6 over negative 2. And so I'm going to have 2 plus 6 divided by negative 2. And I'm also going to have 2 minus 6 divided by negative 2. And 2 plus 6 is 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4. 2 minus 6 is negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2. So it looks like it's going to cross the x-axis at negative 4, 0 and at 2, 0. Right? And my vertex was at negative 1, 9. And then my parabola is going to do something like this. And something like that. Okay. There you go. Who's your prediction, right? I hope so. I hope that you know that A was negative. And if A is negative, the parabola will open downward. Okay? If A is negative, the parabola opens downward. A greater than 0 opens the parabola upward. A less than 0 opens the parabola downward. And A equals 0, if you're wondering, wouldn't be quadratic, it'd be linear, it'd be a line, wouldn't be a parabola at all. Okay, one more example, and then we will call it for this video. So we're going to list A, B, and C. Negative 1, oops, it's going to go downward. B equals negative 14, and C equals negative 48. Okay, so I'm going to do B squared minus 4AC, and 14 is 196, 14 squared, minus, there's three negatives, it's all multiplication, 96, 192, I believe. Better check that really quick. No, that should be right. If I do 48 times 4, yeah. And so I'm going to get a positive 4. So there are going to be two solutions again. And I'm going to go looking for my vertex now. So do x equals the negative of b over 2a, which will be negative 7. So in a t-table, I'll set x equal negative 7, and then I'll plug it in. Negative of negative 7 squared minus 14 times negative 7 minus 48. And so that looks like it's going to be a negative 49. And that is going to be a positive 98 minus 48. And check this out. Negatives and negatives, right? We have a negative 48. If I combine those negatives, don't I get a negative 97? And there's a positive 98, which means this is going to simplify to a positive 1. So my vertex is at negative 7, 1, 9, 8, 7, 1 right there. Okay, and now I'll use the quadratic formula to find my roots. X equals negative b plus plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And that'll get me 14 plus or minus 2 over negative 2. And so I'll have 16 divided by negative 2. And I'll also have 12 divided by negative 2. And it looks like it's going to cross at negative 8 and negative 6. So that's the point negative 8, 0, and the point negative 6, 0. And of course my vertex was at negative 7, 1. And now I'm ready to draw my parabola. And it's going to look something like that. Trying to make it as symmetrical as possible. Okay, that is the lesson for today. Lots of review, and we learned one new thing, that if A is negative, our parabola opens downward. That's it. Mr. Lawrence signing off. Good night, everybody.